lot more than that truck.
That is.
And why is it just
You can buy 1 gig.
Probably 'cause
The service is $20 a
Landscape
month.
was on.
I get no commission. There's $20 a month for phone, text, and all that kind of stuff. Data, 1 gig is $10.
Wow.
But I'm either at the cafe or my house, of which I'm on wireless, so unless I'm in my car messing around, I didn't use but 2/3 of a gigabyte in a month, so my bill was $26.
Nice, good.
Now, being that I lost one of these phones, it's going to take a while to recoup because I had to.
That's a different discussion.
The day I activated it, I lost it the next day. But the beauty of that is that when they did send me another $500 phone,
Yeah.
that everything was already on it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you're
after
talking
2
about
years, this is
capital
going to be a
costs
real
versus
saver
non-cost.
for me. But it's a feel good month by month, even though it's my second phone in 2 months.
That's awesome.
What is it? What's the phone? What's the
It,
service?
it's a
Is it a 6?
It's a Samsung Nexus 5. I don't like things big that I can't put in my pocket, and I don't wear suits like you.
Oh, okay. Well,
But I found out something else. I said to me, if you buy a sweatshirt, be sure it's got a deeper pocket, because this is how I lost my phone. So I don't use.
Why don't you get a holster?
I will. We're gonna put a gun in it.
Go through that file.
So
I
who's the
got
service
one of those
through?
in mind.
Who was the service through?
Google. It's Google Fi, and it's the Fi project.
Okay.
If you just, and I was telling the lady at Regions Bank, and now it's Android only, which has driven me nuts, because I've had iPhones for years.
Yeah.
But I'm getting used to it. It's been hard. But anyway, I love saving money.
What does that say about you, Michael?
My dad was Jewish, my mother was Baptist. So my wallet's on one side of me and my heart's on the other. I guess I better turn my mic off.
It's all right, we already got all of it. We're running.
And I say 15% on my auto insurance.
How'd you save on your auto insurance with a telephone?
Take a bad decision.
No, I did switch to Geico.
I've had
I've
it
been
for years.
back over 30-something years.
Yeah.
Now they got people, so it's a little better. It's not just, I don't know, I like talking to people. I can't stand all that other stuff.
Stuff.
Yeah, just. And none of you at all.
I wouldn't have to take everybody's St. Louis. I'm going to give you whatever it is I got. House, gals,
Well, this is great. Josh is not here, so there's distance.
distance, yeah. From it.
Are y'all gonna rename my street after me?
That's all about it.
They gonna rename streets? I
Which
guess,
one?
He has to have the process.
I guess Bailey get it first. It'd be Susan Bailey Boulevard. Well, she's got more fans than I have. I don't have.
Well, Hank had more fans. Charlotte, we're not doing anything, so let me ask you something else. We talked about this before, I think you, me, and Allie. The windows of the old engraving shop, which is below the thing next to Chapman's, I'm sorry, I'm not a member, so I forget the name.
Oh, the Masonic one?
Masonic Lodge. I don't think they're gonna put a shop in it for certain reasons, logistics or exits or something. But I sure wish we could do what, like you see in McDonald's when you go down the highway, or if you can go to Wells Fargo Bank, they have like old postcards blown up. And if we could put something in their windows to keep it from being a vacant shop, make it interesting. And Julian maybe can help us with that. I think that that would be a worthwhile endeavor to give it a look, make it interesting, and we don't have to reach a place.
I've talked with them recently about that. And Wayne Cantrell, who runs that shop now, had that film put on the windows. And he did that on purpose. He wants the privacy and he wants to use it for stuff that he doesn't.
So he is using it.
For storage essentially.
Well, I'm just talking about the windows. I mean, it'll even give you more privacy if you put your pictures in. But I thought it'd be really cool if it was like that building, because I was talking to Derek Chapman today, and he said there's pictures of that when it was a wooden building, before they did all the facades on it. I just thought that would just be fascinating.
Let me get with you. Let's try again. And Julian may be able to.
Yeah, let's take Julian or somebody that's a member and see if we can. I just think if we can take one building that looks empty and make it look interesting, it's one step at a time.
I was interested in whether or not if we put something right in the window, up against the glass, you might be able to see it okay through the film. And I haven't tried that, so I'm not sure that may be wishful thinking on my part.
Well, I forget their letters, on Willingham Drive, my friend Chris England has that banner business, and he makes things that you can apply, and then maybe we could do something onto the outside even. But if it was backlit, it would show better, but something.
Can we talk about it?
We all? No, yeah, we can.
That's what Scott does, is the
Anyway, just trying to do
hushed.
558.
Your banners are better. I like your banners. And I'm a citizen, taxpaying citizen.
559.
What is that? What is that? That
It's a microphone.
microphone?
It's a new one they had last night.
I didn't see that. Oh, wow.
It's not like an electron microscope, although it's usually shaped like one. It looks more like a microscope than a microphone, doesn't it? Yeah, but it actually isn't. Alan was playing with it 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, Alan was playing with it. That's the only reason. It looks like something you want to get down into, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can,
Yeah. It's in the lab. Well, maybe this is.
Okay. Oh, I see.
Political science lab.
We could fix it.
They're trying to decide what to do with it on the board, and right now they don't.
Well, it's early yet.
It's 6 o'clock right now.
Oh, yeah. Diane's here. There's Ruth and Diane.
Right on.
Got caught in an iceberg crossing. There's going to be quite a few people, about 14 minutes. Heather will call and let you know.
Let's smash it. I won't be sure.
Well, whoever. I got to have it.
yeah, I didn't. I had this terrible.
I was the one who did it. Miss Bearmore. Miss Wellstone.
Is that right? She's well. No, she wasn't. That's why we're getting one.
I see it, I see it.
Okay, just making sure.
Chilly one.
Yeah.
Hey, I've done second. Don't think there's any discussion.
We got to cut. Just these.
Yeah, I'll put some gel on it.
I did. And it laughed at me.
You haven't seen that movie, Something About Mary, have you? It's just say there's a bad joke that they make about hair gel. It's not exactly hair gel, but she mistakes it for hair gel and puts it in her hair.
What is it?
Uh-huh.
I don't know.
Oh, it's one of these weird, uncomfortable kind of movies. Who's the guy? Like the nerdy guy. The one.
That he knew about this
Stiller.
guy?
No. Stiller was apparently involved in a date, and he got with this girl in there, this county girl, and they knew each other when they were kids, and he had some comment involving a zipper and them getting peppered with palm. They grow up and meet each other again. And this guy tells them, gives them a piece of advice. He said, the only reason that you guys that it's so much stress on dates is because you're going off with a loaded gun. He says, what do you mean? He says, all right. And the friend tells him, says, go sit in the bathroom and fantasize and go before you get on your date. That way you go out with a loaded gun. And you're not thinking about that. You're thinking about the girls. You get along with it.
All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I call our January 19th, 2016 work session to order. Roll call will reflect that all are present with the exception of Councilman Josh Powell. Josh is under the weather, not with stomach virus, and will not be in attendance this evening. So, welcome everybody. Thanks for coming out tonight on this cold night. First item we have is the consent agenda. Does everybody have a chance to review the consent agenda? That would be approval of the December minutes, the life pack, fire department expenditure, air tropical alliance. Those three items are on the consent agenda.
Okay, and if I have questions or comments on any of those, that would know I don't want to approve those or approve the consent.
Well, we can do it under discussion.
Whatever the rule is.
All right, go ahead. What are your issues?
Well, under, let's see, approval of the minutes, I've been on December 1. December 15, but on December 15, I do note that on item 5.II, it says first reading of ordinance 2015-19 billions. There seems to have been some question about when first reading was on that. I don't have any note in the minutes that it says, okay, do we do anything about that? Do we change anything about that? It just says we read it for the first time. Correct. Is that correct? Okay. And then, okay, there was something that we did in executive session that I don't remember. It may have happened. It said the city manager shall receive.
If it's an executive session item, then we need to discuss that during executive session.
Oh, okay, then never mind on that one, but it was published, no, it was published, but never mind, still learning, okay, and then on resolution, back to today's agenda on the consideration and action on resolution 2016-01, Aerotropolis. It lists the people that it should be. I don't remember discussing how these people were chosen. Not that I don't love Alderman Barr to death, but I know that this is her second week on here, but I would think that I would rather have someone who's a little more experienced with what's going on in the area, the economic development situation and all of that.
Well, each city has the mayor as the appointee.
Okay, so I
the
agree with you.
The alderman would be the substitute.
So every municipality has the mayor and
I
alderman?
believe that's correct.
Okay, so we would approve this subject to that being the case? If I can go and look at the Aerotropolis agenda, who participates?
I think I'm on there because we certainly,
I'm the next one. Right, but I don't know that that is required of the Aerotropolis.
we certainly can give you that information.
Okay.
The background on this is that the previous council had appointed these three individuals listed, and so I was requested to update this because Alderman Ray was no longer on the council, so.
And I understand why she would have been on there. She's been involved with the city and the community and all of that, as far as the council's perspective on things. So I understand that, but It was just by the nature of, it wasn't automatically going to be alderman, no matter the will of the council or anything else.
I think it has to do with the alderman being available for things that the mayor is not available.
Oh, I understand what the
I
sub
thought it
mayor
was
is.
based on function and not name, and these three functions, but do you want to add somebody?
Well, no, I would rather replace Alderman Barr, who was in the middle of tax season anyway, with David Burt, or someone else that we might want to talk about, who is familiar with what's going on in the development in the area of the Aerotropolis.
I think it's one, I don't know what the rules are for the airport, so maybe we should just table that until we
I'm
have
good
the
with that.
opportunity
Okay.
to research that. Because I think it's elected officials, but I may be mistaken.
Okay.
Well, I think it should be elected officials.
Okay, well, if someone
We'll
can find
research
out
it
what
and
it
get
is.
back to you.
Okay, thanks.
All right.
So we're going to table that one.
All right, any other questions on the consent
Not
agenda?
on those, no, that takes care of it.
All right, well, I'll entertain a motion that the consent agenda be approved with the exception of item 4, number 3 of the Aerotropolis resolution.
So moved.
Motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second discussion. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, next item, we have public comments on agenda items. We'll take general comments at the end of the meeting. But if you have a question or a comment on anything that's on the agenda for action tonight, please come forward and identify yourself, state your address for the record, and ask your question or make a comment.
Okay, Laura Murphy, 201 Colorado. Good evening, Mayor and Council. On the life pack, 15 quote,
That was just approved on the consent agenda.
after reading that, I understand that the life pack 12s are being phased out. So my question is, why would we want another 12?
The two 12s were purchased in '98. Those are monophasic, which only takes one side, one picture of the heart.
Right.
What we're doing is getting the Life Pack 12 that's biphasic, that's is still covered under the maintenance agreement until we can afford to get another 15.
Okay, but we're turning in two.
All right, you're gonna direct your questions to council, and we will have the staff follow back up with you.
Okay, so what I see on the thing is that you're turning in two, a 15 and a 12, a 15 and a 12. No, 15 and 12, and only getting $1,300 in exchange for 26.4. And I'm thinking, if the 12's being phased out, then maybe we should look at possibly keeping the 15 and not trading that in, and getting the other 15 and then waiting to upgrade that with the end instead of getting something that's going to be phased out within the next year or two.
Mayor, do you want us to respond now or get back to
Go
you?
ahead, go ahead if Tommy's got an answer. This
Okay.
equipment is.
We're not turning in a 15. The 15's on the ambulance. Okay, what we're doing is turning in two 12s for a 15 and a biphasic 12.
Okay.
Okay.
So that would be one on engine one and one on engine two?
Correct.
Because what it said on the paper was the 12 was going on engine two and the 15 was going on engine one. Is what it said in here. So you're telling me that each one is going to have one on each engine, the 15, the upgraded ones. And the 12 is then just extra?
We're upgrading the units to from what we currently have. There's 15 on the ambulance. There will be a 15 on engine one and a 12 biphasic on engine two, which with the 12 monophasic would be replaced.
Okay, so that could deliver the readings to the hospital, like the L15?
Yes, it just takes two sides of the heart when you're running the lead.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other comments on agenda items, questions?
We did 2124 of the Vista Circle. I have some questions about this ordinance that's going to be looked at, amendments to the annual budget. My first question would be, this $340,000, do we actually have that in hand, or is this $340,000 that will be collected over the next 6 months?
It will be collected over the budget year.
Okay. Some of the items that were listed there, I guess that I have, some questions about too. In this budget here, there's an amount listed, less accumulated fee of $103,942. What is that?
That is the fee. We entered into an agreement with Steve Fincher's firm for identifying sources of revenue based upon a contingency arrangement. And therefore, if they're chasing sources of revenue, we don't have to pay them by the hour. We pay them a commission based upon the fees that they actually recover. So that's the accumulated fee for
And
that.
I know that's already been done, but a third of our fees, that's a lot of money.
Short term.
It's a one-year
Is it
thing,
only-
it continues, but the fee
We need
is
to
just.
look at that.
Yeah, that's something, I don't have the contract right in front of me tonight.
I think it's first year.
Okay. Some of the items down here, under new appropriations, things that this money would be spent for. I see $6,000 for economic development manager position, human resources position, $16,000, project manager, $38,000. I guess I'd like to know, what are these things? Are these new positions being created, or is somebody getting a raise? The project manager, obviously, I'm thinking that maybe is a new position. Maybe have that explained what that is. I guess there are two things here that I have a real concern about. I see down here $20,000 for an employee pay study. My own personal opinion, I feel like I don't see that that's money well spent. I don't understand, we only have 139 employees. I don't understand why our city government can't determine what our employees should make or not make without having to go outside to have somebody come in. It seems like we do that a lot. We have outside people come in and tell us how to do things. So that would be a concern for me on that. And I guess too, going on down to the second page here, I see legal additional activity funds, $22,200. There again, my own personal opinion, we spend a lot of money in legal fees. I don't see why we need to be, setting money aside to spend even more. Bottom line is, I feel like if this is revenue that we discovered, rather than putting $85,000 of it into reserves, why not put it all in reserves? Take some time to, review a lot of the things that are listed here over the next 6 months, and then make some decisions about spending the money. Money would be in reserves. If something comes up, then it would look like you would have the money there to pull it out to use it. But rather than just automatically go ahead and start spending that money, I just don't think that's really in the best interest based on the state of our finances in the city, over the last couple of years. I think that's it. I appreciate Mayor and Council letting me speak.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am. Pardon me? Yes, please. You have to hold it down until it turns green.
It's on.
It's on.
I'm also addressing the $340,000 and
Speak up. Speak louder. It's on. Just need to talk
It's
a little
on.
louder.
It's
Okay.
talking to
Talk right in.
okay, I'm also addressing the $340,000 that this government was going.
Trying to get a little bit more.
Okay, okay. Did you just say that it was going to be it was going to be accumulated over a period of a year?
6 months.
Over the period.
It's for the remainder of this budget cycle.
So, 6 months, you're saying, say by June, we'll have $340,000, is that what you're saying?
Is that a safe assessment?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay. So we don't really have it yet, not all of it. And you're not planning to spend it really until, I assume until we have it all. Is that it?
Well, expenses come a little at a time and the revenue comes a little at a time.
Okay. In your staff investments, and I read your letter, Mr. Woodson, it was very nice, very nice. You have here, under the highlights for proposed staffing investments, an additional 1% bonus for all city employees. What is additional? Additional compared to what? Did you have something else and now you're adding 1%? Or?
It would be a 1% increase on the employee's salary. They haven't had a raise in, they had a 1% raise 3 years ago. Other than that, they've had no raises in over 6 years.
But I don't believe it is a raise in their salary. I think it's a
One-time
bonus.
payment. Yes, a
It's a
one-time.
one-time payment. They received one.
We did a
December.
1% at the holidays.
In December.
And this would be a second 1%.
So it would be an increase as opposed to really a bonus. Because a bonus
No,
It's a one-time payment.
Bonus.
It's a one-time bonus.
It's not added to their salary.
is not added to their salary?
No.
It's just a bonus.
It's
So
1% of whatever they
Okay,
make.
so what is it based on? Is it based on performance?
It's based on their salary.
Salary.
It's across the board.
Okay, I understand, because we're getting an across-the-board 3% increase of the company I work for.
But we're not.
You're just probably getting a raise. We're just giving
I
this
wish
as a
we had that
bonus.
much money.
Yeah.
Well, we get a bonus too. And so the bonus is based on goals met and
Right.
merit and performance. So that's what I'm wondering.
No, this is just across the board, 1% matching the one that we did in December. And
Okay,
each of those are, December was a one-time payment based on what their salary was, as is this one will be a 1% based on what their current salary is.
Your 3% raise affects a lot of structures in terms of your health insurance and all that stuff. So the simplest way for us to do something until there's more is just to do this that's isolated, to show that we're doing what we can. So that it's the simplest way to put some money in their hands without changing the structure of everything.
is this because you're wanting to retain employees?
Well, we love to do it. It's
Yes, I want to
it's also because we appreciate the employees that have been so patient to wait for the budget to rise.
Okay, and I understand that. I was looking, I did a hypothetical of 139 employees that you have listed in this letter. And so I took like a number, I took an average salary of 45.
We can tell you what the amount is.
No, it's okay. I just did an average.
Okay.
And I just figured, okay, for someone who was making $45,000, they would get like $450. And that would be their one-time bonus, which if you divvy it out over a 12-month period, it comes about, it doesn't come to very much.
So that would be a raise.
Yeah,
This is a
one-time payment.
one-time payment of the 450.
Which part of that is going to go to taxes anyway. So to me, it would be this. It comes out to about that money in terms of $45,000 for a basic position for 139 employees comes out to $2,200, right? And so I just felt it would be a better use if you use that money to invest in something, one of these resources that you're paying to and projects that Mr. Whitson has been advising in his memo, to then shore up the infrastructure here, then to maybe in a year give them a 3% bonus, rather than do that now. Put this money into the reserves until you can figure out what you can do to be able to raise them up even more, because the 1% is just, it's almost
I
like
understand.
being penny wise and pound foolish. I mean, it doesn't seem to amount to a whole. I understand what you're saying.
But the
Mike.
1% isn't spread out over 12 months. It's a lump. I know it's a small lump, but
It
it's
is a
something.
small lump.
And I doubt if anyone would say, I think I'd rather wait for a 3% later on.
Here's the thing, Michael. Okay, suppose you give out this money and then these people leave anyway. So it's not, it's like throwing, almost like throwing good money after that.
Well, it's not just to keep them here. Some of it, I mean, these people have been waiting a long time for more money. I mean, I think we need to show some appreciation with what we can do. And it's small, but it's like allowing our policemen to take a police car or something. There's a lot more we want to do, and we have revenue streams coming in, but until they're realized, it's just what we can do. And yes, it's small. There's no doubt
Yeah,
about it.
it's small. And I think
But-
that with the money that you can use something else in terms of the infrastructure for the city, which would help us even more to realize better revenues.
True. We're going to try to do it all, though.
Well, that's going to be very hard with the money that you have. $340,000 doesn't go very far. And when you're looking at that, and you're looking at what you have left after you take away the money for the retreat, which you're talking about, the retreat in here, I think I got that too, and I read about that. And you're talking about spending $2,500 for that, and then, you know, $62,000, however much money you're going to spend. It doesn't leave a lot to do some of the other things you want to do. You're talking about giving money to do something with, giving money to code enforcement, legal staffing, human resources. I mean, you've got a lot, there's a lot going on here now. And I'm just trying to understand, how are you going to accomplish that?
Well, I'd like to address that. I agree with you, there's a lot going on, but our employees have not gotten a raise in years and years, and they have stuck behind us. And if we're going to get this extra money, we're trying to spread it out over a number of things, and I think our employees are one of our most important things we have in the city, and I think giving them the one-time bonus is very important. And you can ask them, I think, like Michael, they'd rather have this one-time bonus than wait and see if maybe they get 3% down the road.
Oh, I can-
And it's not going to affect us if we have more money down the road. We will get some more, or we'll get some raises. But our employees are what makes our town. And they don't.
I understand, I'm an employee too, and I understand that, yeah. No, and I know what that means. But I'm trying to understand, what are you going to be doing with the other, how are you going to be able to accomplish the other things in the projects and tools investment?
But we're addressing each one of those as they come.
And the budget is fluid. We may have to rearrange things because of emergencies, whatever, but this is kind of like an outline. But
Okay.
the thing that I know that I've heard tonight and understand, it's like, why are we paying legal to find us money? Well, nobody found it before they were doing it, the things that they're bringing in.
Okay.
And yes, there's a payment on it, but these things are increasing our revenue. Now, there's things we already knew in terms of tax assessment, yes, but a lot of this is a whole different direction. Anyway, there's a lot of revenue things changing, and I think that we have to do what we can, what we have. As a business owner, some of this stuff drives me crazy too, but I had a girl that I recently hired. I gave $50 bonus at Christmas because she was a new employee. She burst into tears because nobody ever gave her any kind of bonus, which is pretty sad to me, but that's how thankful she was to get $50.
No, I've been a manager, and I've had, 15 direct reports, 35 indirect reports, and I had to figure out how to pay them as well and give them increases as well. So I understand totally, and they were dedicated, and I had to figure out how I could work with my budget to be able to give them something. So I understand that. That's not my issue. My issue is basically how you plan.
How we're going to do it all?
Yeah, how you're going to do it all with only $340,000, and I'd like to see how you're going to do it. I'd like to see something come out of not just these things, but I want to see, okay, resources to initiate full pay study. Is that necessary? How are you going to do that? How are you going to do increased safety incentives for employees? How are you going to do resources for additional planning in the city? Is that, how are we going to do it? I want to see the how.
Me too,
okay.
and I'm not
Me
the
going
financial
forward.
wizard that a lot of these people
Okay.
are, but I know that we're a litigious society. When you start giving raises to employees in different categories and you're not aware of what people make in the same positions in other cities, I think it's important to have an idea how we're going to go about that. We don't really have a human resources expert to do that, so I hate investing that kind of money just to find out these things, but I also don't want a lawsuit for doing something inappropriate.
Oh, I
And if there's
understand.
better answers, y'all join in, but this is what I see from a very simplistic point.
Well, is there anybody, there's no one in the city that has any kind of expertise?
The expertise to call that.
We have many people wearing many hats, and they're stretched very thin. If you'll also notice in this report of the staffing levels, they're low. Our staffing levels are low. And we have Jennifer Elkins, who's the city clerk. She handles the alcohol and beverage application process. She handles human resources. She handles benefits for retirees. She handles benefits for employees. The girl can only do so much. And these are recommendations made. Council doesn't have to do that. These are recommendations. This is a first reading of this. Council has had this information, and they've got it again tonight. It's the opportunity for them to look at it, evaluate it, take comments into consideration, and make whatever changes they want to make or recommendations they want. It's just a framework.
Okay.
Your points are spot on. There's no doubt about it. And I think
I just know because I've been in corporate America for 50 years, and I've been in human resources, and I understand what's necessary to go into human resources.
You must be counting a Kool-Aid stand if you've been doing this.
I have been doing it for 15 years.
The other thing is, like, we had Adrian here for years, and she's not here anymore, and she performed tremendous functions that are being covered by other people. So there's challenges, there's things we're trying to refit.
Well, have you thought about possibly bringing on part-time people to do 2 part-time positions instead of 1 position, where you can literally take the human resources end of it, and you can do someone doing part-time, doing
And
basic.
the human resources are more than likely to be a contract job, so that we don't have the benefits in retirement.
Right, exactly, because you don't really need it.
We're analyzing this.
We have some temps for that very reason, and then we have some people say, well, wouldn't it be better to have people that really do this day in, day out? Would we get more for it? So it's challenging.
No, I understand that. I'm just saying to divide the work up. You do one side is compensation and benefits, the other side is
Great.
personnel and, retention and training, that you can really divide it up into 2 jobs. You wouldn't have to, part-time, you wouldn't have to pay benefits. And you wouldn't have to do any of that. You just have a small salary for however many hours.
I'm all for splitting it up. I did
Yeah,
payroll and it
I
did
think that would
garbage.
be a really
and
cost-effective way of doing it, for the human resources part. Definitely.
Point taken, thank you.
Okay, that makes sense.
All right, any other comments on agenda items? Got Susan and George. Y'all pick who goes first.
Of course, Susan.
When you talk about the employees not having a raise in 3 years, what I'm remembering
We can't hear
is
you.
they get all of their.
Microphone.
Need to speak
Can't
in
hear
the
you,
mic.
you have to use the microphone.
Green button.
When you talk about your employees not getting a raise in 3 years, what I think is, hey, they're getting their benefits. The benefits they're getting are extraordinary. They're getting
They are.
100% of their health insurance paid. How many of you get 100% of your health insurance paid?
Questions are, please direct the questions here.
Okay, sorry. That's just, it's huge. And so if I had a job here, I would never leave it. I wouldn't care if I got a raise and get a raise if I don't want it. And so that's what I'm thinking about. And I know I brought this up before.
Well, in Best report, if I'm correct, don't they pay part of their benefit in health
Yes,
insurance?
they do.
They pay 100% of everybody.
They get 100% of the base insurance. So it's not a Cadillac plan.
That's right, and if they add dependents, they have to pay part of that themselves.
Yes, I know,
So
but they're
we don't
getting
pay it all.
their base, they're getting 100%. That doesn't happen anywhere.
I know companies that do it.
Well, maybe the larger companies, but how many small towns do it?
You brought this up before. I thought it was a great point, and we've talked about it several times too. We don't know really how far you can carry that out, and with new hires,
And
and these are some of the
I just wanted to
considerations.
point that out because,
That's a
you.
good point.
And the other thing is that, as I understand it, we have very little money in reserves right now. Very little money in reserves, and we need, if I was operating that myself and had that little money in the bank, I would be really worried. What if something happened? What if a major sewer line breaks? What if, I think that's where our money needs to go, build up our reserves, and the sooner the better. That's it for me.
Thank you, ma'am.
And also to address that point, I believe the pay study will also address the points of benefits, what others pay, what benefits others pay their employees. So we can look at what other cities are doing on the same situation. So that'll help us address those points.
They have to be competitive. George?
Which one do I use? This one?
The one that's got a green light on, or if it's not, just hold the button down till the green light comes on.
Yeah, George Rubin, 2108 Woodland Drive. I think this applies here also to employees. When you go to, for example, the city of Atlanta and apply for a permit, it's up to you as the applicant to go from department to department to department to get sign-offs. Just because we're a small town doesn't mean that, for example, Jennifer, with the Alcohol Review Board, when those people make an application, it looks like Jennifer is the one who has to, get in touch with fire or whatever to make sure that all of those are sign-offs. I think, why should she have to do all of that extra work? As Mr. Whitson said, the employees are already overwhelmed. should be the job of the applicant. If I'm going to apply for a license, no matter what it is, it should be me that has to go to fire and to so-and-so and to so-and-so to get all those sign-offs, then bring it to Jennifer. So why don't we look at ways, I'm not saying that we shouldn't give raises, I'm not talking about that at all. What I'm talking about is there are probably ways that we can reduce the overwhelmingness of employees. For example, another thing is the Alcohol Review Board has offered a number of times to do training, not only of businesses that have alcohol licenses, but also people in our employees insofar as what they need to do in terms of the ordinances. So, but that hasn't been set up. So there are some things that we can do as a city to remove some of these extra burdens, like, for example, Jennifer has to do. Thank you.
George, I wanted to say something on that because I appreciate it. It's not going to be that exciting, but I agree. And one of the things that we've tasked the city manager with is some of these forms we have. Laura Murphy sent me something last year on how Atlanta does their alcohol, and it's like a checklist. It's very simple. We don't need to reinvent the wheel and all this stuff. So sending this stuff on, because we need to redo a lot of these things and make them cleaner and crisper so they aren't so labor intensive, but also so that they're business friendly.
Right.
Because, I mean, people are already, we tease about, hey, well, the place East Point does business, and there's some truth to that, but we can do better, and we know it.
Right, and the Alcohol Review Board, for example, for like the forms that we have, none of them are dated or show the, at the bottom when it's revised. The Alcohol Review Board would be happy to do that for you. I believe.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many ideas. I mean, I'm kind of out there, I guess. I don't even like our percentage of 50% food and alcohol. I think it's killing us, but that's just my opinion. I wish it was a different percent so we were more business friendly and could open up to more things. I just think it's too many, but that's
the thing with that is that, as I understand it, the city does not want bars. They want restaurants.
Well, they say that, but we also want restaurants to succeed, and I really wouldn't mind a wine bar. There's certain things we don't want, but also this is in the 60s.
That's another part of training. I mean, how many times do you go to any restaurant in this town and the server tries to sell you something? It doesn't happen. They don't offer appetizers. They don't offer desserts. So that's part of the things that...
I'm serious. I'm serious. I've been that
It's a
business.
matter of
I know what
sales.
you mean.
It's a matter of sales.
But some of these realities need to be updated and thought about.
Yeah.
In terms of percentages, I'd like to see us progress. We could follow the model of other cities, and I, once again, have to reinvent every wheel. I'm not saying we're changing it. I'm just saying that's the way I see it. I think the percentages do not.
Okay.
Any other comments on the agenda? All right, any other comments on agenda items? All right, we'll move into new business. We have some charter appointments tonight for the, we have city attorney. Does anyone care to make a motion on appointment for that position? Yeah, we go with that. I'll go down.
I think that we reappoint Fincher, Denmark, Williams, and Minifield.
Is there a second to that? Discussion. All in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. All right, Venture and his firm will be city attorney. City clerk?
I move we reappoint Jennifer Elkins.
Can't find nobody else?
I second motion.
Second.
They look at her job load and they say no.
Yeah, that's good. Discussion.
She needs a hat rack.
Yep, I agree. All right, all in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. You got it again, Jennifer. City recorder, which is our municipal court judge, currently Monica Ewing. You want to make a motion on that item?
I move that we reappoint Monica Ewing as our municipal court judge, as our city recorder. I'll second.
Motion second. Discussion. All right, all in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We have assistant city recorder, which is the assistant municipal judge. We have two in there, Ron Freeman and Russell Rawls.
he updated that
I'm
with
not seeing
Mayor.
Okay.
So we have Eric Morrow,
Okay.
Stephanie.
LaCour.
All right.
I make a motion, we reappoint those two.
That's all.
I know, but I just wanted to see what people
Yep.
are seeing.
All right,
I made a motion.
motion, is there a second? Second discussion? All right, being none, all in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Solicitor,
I don't know who that is.
Tracy Morgan, I'll move that we appoint Tracy Moran and Alfred Dixon.
is there a second?
A second.
Second discussion? All in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Then we have public defender.
I'll move we reappoint Steve Wesley Meadows.
Motion, is there a second?
Second?
Second discussion?
I do actually have a question about this.
Please.
Do we pay him for,
Chief, can you address?
I don't know. Okay. Just when he comes to court and so forth?
We have,
Just on a contract basis?
By the defendant.
By the defendant. So much per defendant or?
Correct.
Unless they're indigent, which I assume we have to pay.
Well, we pay that, that's why.
That's what we pay.
All right, further questions? All right, all in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Then we have the official publication of legal organ of the city, which we have two of those.
No, we haven't.
I move we reappoint Fulton Daily Reporter and the South Fulton Daily News.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second discussion? All in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, board appointments. Anybody have any idea on this?
Well, I would like to table this because there are a lot of applications that we have, and I
And they're still
thought
coming in.
at some point we had talked about the mayor and council wanting to talk to each of these individuals prior to an appointment, so I would like to table this to maybe the 2nd February meeting.
Okay.
We talked about a retreat or something like that.
A discussion of the responsibilities, and that's part of
Right,
it. That ties into
But at
the
least
same thing.
speak to the people who put their applications in to make sure they really, really, really want to do it, and know what that it entails and the amount of time. And we've never done that before, I don't think, as far as interview the applicants for the board appointment. So I think that's something I thought that the mayor and council had said they wanted to do, so I would like to table that.
Is that a motion to table?
Yes, a motion to table till mid-February.
Jennifer? Okay.
I'll second that, but I do have in the discussion, I'd like to ask, can we try to find some time that will be, that most of us could be there and as many of these applicants as possible could be there so we could talk to them?
You want to do individual interviews or?
Just sort of a group thing.
Well, or
Do you want to have a full meeting? And have an audience?
Of course, because we're not doing anything else.
And I would say 15 minutes per person would be enough, and we could have all of them.
It's just so we could, if they come in closed session and we talk to them, so I just think they should all talk to us and we should talk to them.
We can try to get some.
Okay, so you'll get back with us on some dates?
Uh-huh.
Okay. All right, so you seconded it, correct? Okay.
May I just have a clarification for which date it's tabled to?
Mid-February, whichever day of the
Because
month
there
that
was
is.
one date was the 2nd of February, or so you want to go to 16th?
16, yeah.
All right. All right, motion second. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item is consideration and action to waive first reading of ordinance 2016-02. This is the sign moratorium. So we'll entertain a motion to waive first reading, and then.
I so move.
Okay, motion to waive first reading. Is there a second? Second, discussion. All right. We'll get into the crux of it in just a second. Right. All right, so motion to waive first reading. There's a second. Discussion, questions, comments?
So when you say we're going to get into the crux of it, that means,
Because that's the next thing to vote on.
okay, all right, so
And
this
Ethan,
is just a wait
there
first reading.
was a memo sent out,
Yeah.
and Ethan's here, I guess, to answer any questions or give us a summary, okay? All right, all in favor of the motion to table, take first reading, raise your right hand. Waive first reading, I'm sorry. All opposed? Okay. Motion carries to waive first reading. Now, consideration and action on ordinance 2016-02. This is the sign moratorium. This has come to us as a recommendation from our attorney. And Ethan, I would like, if you don't mind, to give us a little summary of this. This has to do with the Supreme Court decision.
Yes, Mayor. The Supreme Court came out several months ago, basically.
Speaking to a microphone,
Mayor, I read that memo a while back, but the Supreme Court came out several months ago in a case called Reed versus Town of Gilbert out in Arizona, which basically struck down that town's sign ordinance, and it has an impact on pretty much all the sign ordinances throughout the country for all the municipalities. And it deals with basically content-based regulation of speech. And so in order for us to determine whether the city of Hapeville's ordinances meet the criteria, we have to go through and look at the code to make that determination.
Okay.
So, if I may, so this is content regulation of speech, not necessarily if it has LED lights going around it, or if it's the size of the sign, or anything other than the content.
Well, the case specifically dealt with, let me give you the facts of the case. The town of Gilbert out in Arizona, they had an ordinance that said, if you put up church signs, then within, I believe, 24 hours you have to take down the signs after the event. And so the challenger said that, because that ordinance specifically dealt with the content of the sign, the sign says, this sign deals with an event, a church event, a religious event, then that constitutes content-based regulation, and therefore that's illegal. You can't regulate it based on the content that way. And I apologize. It's like I said, I wrote the memo a few months ago, but those are some of the facts regarding that case.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, the staff has already proceeded in concert with the city attorney's office to review our regulations. If you so choose to pass the moratorium tonight, that would suspend basically signage of certain sizes and so forth like that. And then we would go back and review everything, and then we'll be quickly bringing back an updated ordinance that puts us in compliance with the Supreme Court decision.
And it would be a 90-day moratorium.
Or less. Yeah, we hope to get it to you sooner than already started.
And William, when you say suspend signage of a certain size, does that mean signs that are already out there? And I thought this was more content relevant than size relevant.
Well, it is, but there are billboard companies and things that are pushing to take advantage of the Supreme Court decision, and the city attorney's advice to us was to pass the moratorium so that it suspends everything. And
Any sign?
Correct.
Guys putting in a new restaurant, no sign?
No.
No what?
Certain size and height, targeting billboards.
Correct. We're really mainly targeting the larger signs. Day-to-day business signs is not really directed to that. So basically, we want to get this in place so that we can go back and work with the city attorney's office to scrub the ordinance and make sure that we don't have any conflicts.
Well, if I may, additionally, so this church had a billboard, or is that us thinking that the people who might want to put up a billboard might want to put church things on there?
It's basically, the Supreme Court has ruled that cities cannot regulate content. So in order for us to be in compliance with that, they want to just put the brakes on, review our sign ordinance to see if our sign ordinance does indeed violate the latest decision by the Supreme Court. This is not driven by anything we've done.
I understand about it. Somebody mentioned billboards, and this says moratorium on, I think, all signs, if I read it correctly.
No, it has a size in there and a height.
So this is signs of a certain size and height.
Yes.
Was this driven by signs that are changeable, such as billboards, such as church signs? I mean, I don't understand what's driving this in terms of content. Is it talking about all signs or just the changeable ones? Because a church sign is going to put an event up. We put something up across from City Hall saying there's going to be a meeting. The school puts something up saying that there's an event at the school. And of course, our billboards are digital, so they can change. Or is it broader than that? It's not clear to me.
Well, when I did the memo and when I read the case, it dealt specifically with church signs. Okay, with church signs. But I believe Steve, when he worked with Destiny on this ordinance, that on the moratorium, that he decided that it's probably best to include the different sizes, in order to give the city more leeway in how to regulate the applications that are coming in.
My understanding is basically anything about content might be struck down. So a billboard that went up right now could basically put whatever they want because we couldn't regulate.
Correct.
So that's why we're trying to regulate those sides.
That's right. It's kind of
It's
a.
the board trying to keep
Well,
them
we
honest, do
don't
more than-
individually permit billboards. Once that structure's approved, that sign's been approved. So the billboard, the changing LEDs and all that, doesn't
belong to
matter.
the sign company?
But the sign company's already been approved to put the billboard up.
Right, there are certain signs that are already in place, it's not going to be right. We're talking about new applications, and I think we kind of put a finger on the key issue here. And again, staff has started our review, we haven't gotten very far. Steve, unfortunately, is on vacation, but he advised us to move immediately on this, put it in place, and then we'll get back to you real quick.
Line 41 states Code of Ordinances, definitions of Code of Ordinances measuring more than 35 square feet in size and incorporating electronic messaging equipment are being more than 20 feet tall from the base of the top in order to maintain the status quo while city officials expeditiously undertake a review of the city sign regulation.
That's the primary.
I think that church had more money than our church. They had a sign like that.
Okay, so we're still in discussion. Any other questions or comments regarding this?
Just one, and it may be more, I guess, monetary and questioning. We're reviewing our entire sign ordinance.
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay,
That was-
seems to
I
me
was
we
thinking
took
like
a
you too.
long time to get the current sign ordinance passed with various LED circular things. And I can just see a city attorney clock running, and we have to review our whole ordinance.
No, you're right on. My direction is that Bill and I and the staff will look at it, and once we get it cleaned up, then we'll get a clean draft to the city attorney. We're not going to turn the clock on, let the city attorney sit there and charge by the hour. We feel like, based on this communication here, we are understanding the direction. We'll get a draft to them, and then if they have issues with it, then we'll clean it up.
One more final thing from me, perhaps Mr. Johnson, you'd be the one to answer this. How many have we had of this size requested to be up in the last year?
Applications, probably 8 total.
Okay.
Not a lot of activity. I can say that we have known about content-based regulation for several years. There's very little content-based regulation in the ordinance. I've done a review, as been reviewed. I think I identified 5 places of questionable nature that we forwarded on at some point to the city attorneys. It should not be a huge exercise because of the recent provisions that you mentioned.
Well, William, well, just because I'm looking after pennies, will Bill need to be involved with all that, or is he going to give direction and the staff's going to take over from there?
Bill and I will work on it together, and we will get a draft of the city.
Do you have the idea how many hours that's going to take? I'm just curious.
2 to 3.
Okay.
And will Mayor and Council get the preliminary revised sign ordinance once these things are in place?
We would have it for first reading
Okay.
when the changes get made.
Yes.
A little before that so we can read it?
Oh, yeah.
All All right, I think that's it for me.
All right. Any other questions or comments? All in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. The motion carries. Item 6, number 5, is the first reading ordinance 2016-01. That was the budget amendment that was discussed earlier. So please, as it states here in the agenda, council, take your time to look over that and reach out to the city manager.
And that I thought that would be really a help to Hapeville and an honor to the man in the letter. So it's just thought to.
So did you find out how we do that?
Bill, you had your hand up.
Yeah, City of College Park entertains such a desire. And,
Yeah, the Tuskegee Airmen that are honored on Campway Parkway.
Yeah. Applied Red Escorts to my dad's B-17 World War II, so it means a lot to me. They didn't change the name of the street, still Camp Creek Market, but there's a green sign that says Tuskegee Airmen
Memorial or something.
Like
Right.
that.
Yeah, I'd have been fine if they'd put more signs. Those people are amazing. But yes, anyway, I was trying to think of a way to do this that's, that could possibly even, because I know if you're going to put anything on the highways, you have to get the state involved. But I didn't really want to say we need to change the name of the street. I thought that might be too big a fight. Can we have it both ways?
Yes, we can. And we outlined in the memo, I thought that there was a.
I don't have it in my packet.
I don't
I don't have that in
I don't
my,
have
it
it.
didn't make it in the
I
packet.
didn't
I
make it in
don't
the
have it.
Okay, we will give you the memo.
So if you can
And
summarize.
The summary is that any kind, if it's a state highway, we have to involve the legislative delegation. And again, we would follow the pattern of College Park, and we can work with the legislative delegation to have that designation if it involves a state street. If it involves a street that is just the city, then, you know, there's a set of procedures outlined in the memo that we would follow, and it has to go to the planning commission.
North Central's 1941.
Yes, so it is state
so-
because it's not.
Yeah, so there would be a way we could do this. We, again, having Bill working with us and having the benefit of the College Park experience, what they've done, we would just kind of follow that same model. So if it is the desire of the council for us to proceed in that way, we feel like that we can do that.
Well, hopefully I've requested a meeting with Dan and Kathy, because that's one thing I want to talk to him about, and there's a few other things that I'd like to talk to him about. So when I get that meeting set up, I'll relay what their desires are. Because I'd like to, you know, with Mrs. Kathy having passed as well, you know, I think it would be a really good time for them to give that some consideration, especially with her recent passing.
Well, I'm very, very much against changing street names, because I'd like to have Stewart Avenue back personally. And because my daddy wanted to name Fraley Way because he lived there so long. But one thing, and I think that's a good idea, a memorial and so forth. But we also have there, it's a street right next to the Dwarf House, that there's only one business owned, and that might be something we could do in conjunction with it too.
Oh, yeah.
It's only a 1 block street.
Sherman isn't exactly a name I want to honor here.
So, I think that's something, because this is right next to the Dwarf House. I think to look at sort of both, but I think it's good, because he's been a big part of Hapeville for a lot of years.
Yeah, I'd originally thought about Sherman, but I definitely would like to name a larger street than just a 1 block
Well,
long street.
that's why I say we do the.
Well, I think, yeah, I think.
The memorial would solve it, because that saves the whole expense of everybody having.
And I've mentioned before too, the Dearborn Plaza and the walkway where we have the art thing. I would love to have something considered that's got a little more heart meaning on that in terms of memorial something or memorial walk or anything besides calling it the alley behind. So those are other things to consider, but I mean, we could probably all come up with stuff to rename. But I don't want to rename it, I want to add something that'll help us and honor him.
So, Mr.
And I
Mayor,
like
if there is a
to do that also.
consensus, that's really all we would need, and then we'll continue to work on that.
Yeah.
That's not an expensive endeavor to investigate, correct? I mean, since College Park's done it.
That's something we can do.
Thank you.
Is it everybody's consensus to
Yes.
move in that direction? All right. Next item is the discussion of creation of a 125th Celebration Committee. As you all know, 2016 constitutes the 125th birthday of the founding of the city of Hapeville in 1891, and we definitely need to create a committee to work with mayor and council to plan some various activities. Time is of the essence on this. I'd like to just, let's talk a little bit about it. One person I would like to put on the committee, just because she was here when we had our 100th, was Betty Barnett. She has asked me personally if she could serve, and I told her I'd bring it to council. So if y'all would at least consider her.
I thought you were going to say she was here when we were founded, not
Not quite. Didn't miss it too far.
Annie was here. They might have been. I agree.
So, y'all just want to give it some thought and think about some people? I guess the question, how many people are we looking at?
3 or 4 is fine with us.
Not 12 or 15?
If that's your desire, that's fine, but.
And they're working in conjunction with what we already have, right? 'Cause we-
Yeah.
Right, there are already some events in process, some discussion in process with the art story and telling my story and all that, so there's already stuff in process, so this committee will work in conjunction. I assume what we got.
Does she have a copy of the play that you?
She might.
Because I'd like to have the play again, that was really good. I agree, it should be, she should lead it, because she did a very good job on the 125th.
100.
That's right, this is.
This is 120. Okay, so consensus to, y'all will just think about it, bring forth some names, and we'll let staff know.
Are we gonna put something out to the citizens to know that besides the ones that are here?
Can we put a note on the website, mention it, and have them give us suggestions to who they'd like, and also suggestions of what they'd like to see at the celebration?
I'm good with that.
Yeah, we have some longtime citizens that, you know, it's difficult to come here, but they would certainly have good input.
All right. Next item up is discussion of the mayor and council retreat. We bounced this around a little bit. There are some proposals in the packet tonight for some various people. What we talked about doing, we've had these retreats for year after year, and without them being professionally facilitated, so many times what happens is we discuss all this stuff, and it kind of gets written on a piece of paper somewhere and stuck in a drawer with no follow through. So I think one of the goals, one of the things I'm after this year, council, y'all can speak to it as you desire, but would be to have a facilitated meeting whereby the goals and desires are obtained through a professional facilitator, but then also have a written synopsis and an action plan as to who, what, when, where, and how. Because we could sit around the room and throw all kinds of ideas up against the wall, but if we don't have a plan as to who's going to take ownership and who's going to be accountable and who's going to be responsible, it's a futile effort, in my opinion. So, do y'all have any thoughts based upon the proposals that you see in your packet tonight?
Yeah, well, most of them said that they will talk to individual council members beforehand to get a good list. And they look like that they would provide a good direction, and all we're going to get a written report. So I agree that we need to make sure that they have those 3 things in place.
Okay. Does anybody have a preference based upon the information? There's one that gave 2 reports that they summarized from their meetings. One was with the county and one was with the city. So I would urge you to look over those carefully, because that's kind of an outline as to what we could be looking for in the product for that. So we're really just discussing this. We don't really have any action on this, but we need to get rolling pretty quickly. So could you guys let us know your desires?
Yes,
and then maybe we can vote on it in the very, very, very near future.
Have we had facilitators before?
Some years ago.
A long time.
It's been a long time ago.
And that year was very successful, and since then it hasn't been. I'm not trying to be a
Well,
stick in the mud.
I
This
understand.
is difficult for me. I
Well-
feel like if we can't come up with ideas and then look to our staff to figure out how to implement them, I'm a little confused, but maybe I think.
Well, the purpose of a facilitator,
Inexperienced.
in this is to keep us focused. you know,
That's coffee for me.
I understand, but we can sit around and say, we want measurable goals, but we've got to define what those measurable goals are, and we've got to crystallize them in writing and task certain individuals, because we can't expect one person to be a superhuman and accomplish all of those goals themselves. So I think a facilitator helps you crystallize where you're going. That's been my experience. I usually, at the ones I've gone to, several years ago, Marshall Mitchell, who works for Steve Fincher's firm, he facilitated one of our meetings. It's been probably 12 years ago. But he actually took every city operation that we had, the cost of that operation, and equated it to how many mills of taxes, and really kind of created a paradigm shift of how we looked at the whole operation. So for me, that was very successful because it transformed the way we looked at the operation. But that's just my experience with one facilitator.
And sometimes I think we have ideas and we don't know how to measure them, and I'm hoping a facilitator would be able to give us what would be the things to measure them when we make these goals.
Well, for Marshall, the mills is his area of expertise, but this facilitator is going to have to be pretty well rounded if we're wanting in every category.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Well, and I would just add, from my perspective, from what the documents that we had to look at, it looked like I have three, I could discern the amount that they were proposing. One, I couldn't find any amount that was being proposed, and one, there was a substantially smaller amount. And if we're thinking to table this and study it some more, I think we've already put out there that we either wanted the first Saturday in February or the third and fourth. I think, we kind of don't need to study it anymore, but my thinking is that I would prefer, since we haven't done this in 12 or 15 years, that we go with the person who was $700 rather than $2,300, $2,500, or $2,450 plus airfare and expenses and hotels and meals, which I believe those other three included. And the one who proposed $700 was all in, $700. And so I think for our first venture in doing this in a long time, we start with that. I would move so, if that is necessary.
We would need to amend the agenda for action on this because it's only on here for discussion. So
I'm really voting with them before I make them. Okay. So then we're out for the first weekend in
well, we could do it. We've got a call meeting Tuesday night.
Okay.
This coming Tuesday
So we
for
can do it
the
then.
Josh Patton Castle appeal.
Mm-hmm.
So Jennifer, could you add this item onto that?
Okay.
And then that way that gives us one more week. Because we got to move quickly.
I think it looked like the first weekend you had on here was the 13th. So good thing it is.
I thought Jennifer had the first, the third, and the fourth.
Well, there was one person that only had one day left.
Oh, okay. When I saw they had a number, they started on like the 13th.
Yeah,
Okay, well, we'll look at it. 13, 20, 27.
Carl.
What dates to the $700?
I think everyone but Saturday the 6th, I think.
Good for them. My birthday's the 5th.
It's her grandson.
Okay, so we will come back to this Tuesday night then.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right, next up we have our city manager report. William?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Per the schedule that was adopted by council on the budget process itself, I will be issuing my guidance memo to the staff next week, and or later on this week, early next week. So if council has any ideas or comments or concerns or questions about budget, get me soon, and that'll be the first step in our process. Second thing is I sat in on a transportation SPLOST discussion. There will be kind of a key mayor's meeting coming up soon, Mayor, in the first part of February, where I think they're finally going to vote.
We'll see.
we shall see. I can tell you if they don't vote then, they only really have one more 30-day delay before they're going to get in trouble. So in terms of being able to accomplish it by the having it on the public referendum in November, according to the time frame that we have been kind of talked about in terms of the statute. So hopefully that, will happen, and then if there is a will among the other communities to go, then we will begin having community meetings here about proposed projects. But we have not scheduled any of those meetings because we don't know if it's a real exercise or not. We anticipate that it may be, but we don't know that it is. The tricky part of this is, unless there is 100% agreement among all the municipalities,
All 13 of them.
all 13, a tall order, then the percentages, should there be consensus to proceed, would be reduced. And there are different scenarios out there. At the moment, the majority of the communities are leaning towards a 75%, 25% split of the 1 cent. The 1 cent projection for revenue generation is $1.4 billion. The percentage under that scenario for the city of Hapeville would be to the tune of $5 to $6 million. If, for example, MARTA was unsatisfied with that and proceeded to push other communities, there could be a further breakdown, and let's just say it went forward with a 50% split, then our percentage would be down to about $3 to $4 million. So it basically depends on the consensus or lack thereof, whichever way it goes, in terms of Fulton County and the other municipalities as to what we would be looking at, assuming that there was the will and the majority of the communities that wanted to proceed with a vote to have a project listing put together in compliance with all of the statute for this this coming election in November. Assuming that that all came together, assuming that there was a vote, and assuming that there would be a voter passage, it would be a 5-year tax, the $1.4 billion being collected over that period, and then we would be bound by the work program that we, i.e. City Council, voted on in the July time frame. So basically between now and June, assuming there's a will to proceed, which we'll know soon, we will put together a project list, discuss it with the public, make sure the council's happy with it, and then we would become one page of a rather lengthy, complex interlocal agreement, and it would spell out our projects. So that's kind of the long, or the short version of a rather long story, and I'll be available for questions from the public or from the council members at any time. But this process hopefully will draw to a close.
2 flies in the ointment for me are, number one, MARTA. MARTA entered into it for 5-year money. MARTA can't do very much with 5-year money because most MARTA projects take years and years and years. It takes 5 years to engineer them. So with MARTA at the table, and then they can't bond against 5-year money either. So they kind of muddy the water up. The other thing is the city of Atlanta, they don't send anybody to these meetings with any decision-making ability. So they will sit around and decide at the 11th hour what the rest of us are going to do, unfortunately. So those are obstacles we have to overcome if we're hopeful that we'll work through this, because this would be very beneficial.
And I did state for the record, Mr. Mayor, our concern with the fact that I think the whole MARTA discussion is really pointless. And in my opinion, if MARTA needs 50-year money, trying to jump in on 5-year funding sources. It just seems to me that that to try to solve regional and state level transportation issues with local dollars is not the correct approach. But I stated that objection and concern, and they went on discussing their desires anyway. So anyway, logic doesn't seem to have much to do with this conversation, and we will sit back. We're a small player in a very large process, but it's been interesting to sit at the table.
Just remember, as agonizing as it is, it wasn't as bad as the local option sales tax.
Can I ask you something on that? We talked before, and it was one of the, I know there's plenty of projects, and I'm not saying this is the one we should do, but it was one of the few things that could actually fund silent crossings instead of wait till our budget's so big that we can throw that kind of money at it.
That's right.
So it's worth being desirous of, and I don't know if it's legal to say praying for, but that's the kind of stuff I do. Anyway, so it would be a good thing, because silent crossings would be really great in this city, because I'm tired of the train.
Gotcha. Well, it is, that would be an eligible expense and would be part of the project mix we would bring forward for council and public to consider.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item in my report is not to steal any of the mayor's thunder, but staff is proceeding with preparing the State of the City address and draft the mayor, and we're targeting the 16th of February, so that's something that will be good that's coming up. And then there's been some conversation, quite a bit of conversation, about the rental car company that just started operating by parking hundreds of cars in the Delta Technology parking lot. It's quite an impressive operation. I went by and viewed it myself personally. And basically they have turned in their application to get permission to do that. And that application was late to be able to be published in time to hold a public hearing for the 2nd of February. So we're going to roll to the 16th. And then basically staff is working with them, code enforcement and the city attorney and I have consorted, and we're going to be citing them every single day they operate. And then we will provide to you all of the record and all of the information we have available in their application to receive the special use permit. And it will be up to the council in your quasi-judicial role to decide whether or not they are granted that permit. And the fastest we can get it to you is 16th February at this point.
I have a question on that, and are we not citing them now daily?
We are. Yes,
we
ma'am.
are? Okay, and I guess my main concern is, and I could have been out of the loop on this, is that the first, where I became of it, was when a citizen brought it to our attention. Is there some reason our police officers didn't bring that to our attention first?
They were there on the first day.
Okay, and they cited them on the first day?
Yes.
What was the first day, Chief?
It was last month, probably late in the month. I'd have to get you the exact date.
So late November, late December?
Late December, yes.
Okay.
That we noticed it.
Okay.
So the citation will read from the very first day. And then again, the management has chose to ignore those citations, and then basically the process will proceed forward. And I really can't say any more than that, other than the fact that we're following the process and we've been in touch with the city attorney. That's it. Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, we're going to do our department updates, and we're going to fruit basket turnover tonight. So David, we're going to start with you first tonight, economic development.
Okay. We're working on trying to get the gallery crawl started probably in May is what we're thinking to get it ready. I guess I am curious, we'll need to find out if the alley is going to be ready by then. If not, we'll start with the other areas, probably not. Okay. So we're looking forward to getting those started. And then I focused a lot on Dogwood Drive, I want to kind of make 2016 the year we transform Dogwood Drive into a really cool place that people want to invest in their buildings or have their business. And so I've been working on that. One thing came up today, the Dearborn Plaza property that the Development Authority owns. There's an alley that runs by the edge, and I'll give you all this and I'll email it and give it to under William, that runs along the edge, and then it runs through the middle of the property. And so when that first came up, the assumption was that it was just closed decades ago, and the question was, this corner that the Chinese restaurant owned had five, but Katrina will probably mention this in public comments, but found out from Steve Fincher late this afternoon that apparently it was never closed, and the city still owns it. So for the project to go forward, we have to get that alley to be part of it. That it's, you can't even see the middle part that it ever was, and now I'm running one short. But basically, the dark black is what they're trying to buy for the tavern and the other restaurant. And then this is that weird alley that you can't even see on the ground. But when you do the research, Samuel Hape did that.
And the flat would show this or whatever, okay.
So anyway, that's just something that's going to be an issue, and we're on a huge time crunch, so I just wanted to make it weird.
That's not, I don't find that there's any utilities or anything under there.
Yeah, I guess it's possible. It'd be more likely here because this is actually paved like an alley. This part lines up with the alley that we all use, but it's just grass.
Used it many times, yes. Many
Did
times.
an exit out of McDonald's?
Yeah. So it's just something I wanted to bring up because the place that he's moving from is trying really hard to keep him from moving. So I wanted to at least keep y'all aware since I found out this afternoon.
Thank you.
And that's it.
Thank you. All right, legal? Ethan, you have anything other than
Nothing there.
Rick, police?
We were able to apprehend, if I haven't mentioned that, the Wells Fargo bank robber.
Saw that.
That was good news, and our recruiting efforts are going very well. We had 14 applications, or 14 applicants, we have more now, but 14 applicants that went through our process starting last Wednesday. Unfortunately, 8 washed out, but we are proceeding on with the rest, and hopefully of those we will get some good selections.
Very good. All right, Lee, community service?
Mr. Mayor, about a year ago, we submitted ARC in a round of study funds, and we were selected recently for North Central Avenue Phase 2, which would be from Dearborn to I-75. And so we'll have a meeting at ARC tomorrow to find out more about that. That'll probably be an 80-20. Anytime you apply for these streetscapes, you have to have a study done first. So we'll have more information on that tomorrow.
Very good. All right, finance, Mr. Schuster?
Yes, sir. My major project right now is taking the Encode chart of accounts and trying to integrate it with the state chart of accounts. It's never really set up to correlate with the state chart of accounts, which means we lack official definitions for our accounts. And once I finish that correlation, I can use it to train staff people in our department heads and better organize our budget.
Very good. How much longer do you think it'll be?
Yeah, this year's budget. I'll be ready for this year's budget.
That's my target.
Yeah, that's our hope. Yes.
Okay.
All right, Jennifer?
Just a reminder that we have the Southwest Municipal Association meeting Thursday.
College
at
Park.
College Park.
GICC, 6:30. 6:30 is the board meeting, 7 o'clock is the regular meeting.
Yep.
All right, Tommy, fire?
I don't have anything at this time.
Bill Johnston?
Mr. Mayor, the Planning Commission and the Design Review Committee approved the new Solis Hotel across Porsche Drive from Porsche headquarters. The climate control facility on Sylvan Road coming for Design Review Committee tomorrow night. We get a presentation from the Virginia Crossing developer. We'll raise the 4 3-story office buildings at that address, replace it with mixed-use development, including a hotel, apartments, retail, some office. And they talk about having a bridge, pedestrian bridge across Virginia Avenue to Delta buildings.
And who was that going before? Is that before DRC?
They
Virginia
have-
Crossing?
They haven't submitted anything.
They haven't submitted anything.
And some engineering issues right now.
Yeah, we're waiting on a letter from the Corps and,
See where the Front River runs through?
yeah, how they're gonna manage that. And the other thing is, that's gonna be a DRI, Development of Regional Impact, that have to go through ARC and Georgia Regional Transportation Authority review. So that's gonna add to that review process. We've queued up the billiard ordinance. I think that's gonna be available to the attorneys tomorrow.
Queued up, that was cute. Queued up the big.
By the way, Mr. Mayor, back to the Virginia crossings, the developer has agreed with staff to enter into a development agreement so that all of the things that are developed, traded, promised, what have you, are going to be in writing and agreed to by both sides.
Very good.
That hotel next to Porsche is only in Europe and Hapeville. I mean, I think we need a T-shirt.
And they might deliver before Google.
Yeah, seems like I got an idea on Google.
Well, I can tell you this, I was driving, Prologis is one of my commercial accounts. I take care of all the buildings, and I was driving through Airport South, which runs between Forest Parkway down by the runway and Georgia 85, and they've rented a whole warehouse over there. They've got 2 Google vans out front, and they got Google Fiber, a big Google Fiber sign, and it's just right down the road in Riverdale. So
Something's happening.
they're moving. So
Staff received an update about 2 months ago, and the holdup is they want to do concentric rings. And at one time, they thought that we would be in the first ring, and it seemed that we're not. And so they're going through a redesign, and it has to do with how they're laying out their network and the amount of rings they will have for redundancy. So that's what the holdup is.
it's not an easy undertaking.
No, and it's one of those things where, again, it's coming, but the speed at which, I couldn't tell you. I can tell you that other communication companies are in contact with us, and we are going to be entering into franchise negotiations with the other providers. So there's a lot of activity on the fiber front.
What does that mean?
Pardon me?
I was just wondering what you meant.
Like AT&T wants to do fiber, other companies like that.
AT&T's contracted on the name association.
Yeah, we can't be just
Yes, we can't
exclusive
just
to
give it to
one
one
company.
person, so we have
So
to-
we can make money off all of them.
Recreation, Todd?
I don't have anything of significance at this moment.
All right. And you're on here again, Lee. Do you have anything else other than your report?
No, basically, we have a lot going on, and
All right. Public comments. I'll start on the right-hand side of the room.
Mr. Mayor?
Oh, Ally, I'm sorry. Pardon me, Ally.
Somebody's list.
Excuse me, I'll come right back to you.
Well, we're just working on the state of the city, as Lynn mentioned, and the opportunity zone report, and we just finished the Main Street annual self-assessment and report, and we'll be reviewing that at the Main Street board meeting, which is rescheduled for Monday of next week. And we also just hosted our business appreciation event at Main Street. And so it was a good event. We had some good discussions with some of the businesses that attended. So thank you to everybody that was part of that and that came to that. I don't want to name everybody, but thanks. And if you have any feedback, we'll be talking about that next Monday, so please let us know.
Thank you. Sorry I skipped over you. I apologize about that. All right, public comment starting on my right. Joy, we'll let you stay in your seat.
Thank you, appreciate that. Joy Whitaker, 3347 North Whitney. I remember several years ago, we did a study about job descriptions, and it was every department.
That was the Archer study.
Was it?
Yeah, problem is the salaries are outdated, would be outdated in that.
But are the job descriptions outdated? Are they the same thing?
Well,
Some would have changed because of,
yeah. Some would change just because of the nature of our operation, but that would be a good framework to start with.
because I've still got all that paper, and it really does tell you what each person has to do.
William, when you're rummaging through the office,
I have it.
you got it?
I found it.
Okay.
And
That might
we are-
save some
We're
legwork.
gonna use it, but it's, like you say, it's out of date.
Point taken, thank you. Okay, Jillian was next, and then Sherry.
Julian Lance, 730 North Avenue. I'd like to know, if I could, when the leaf trucks went down, when they expect to be back up, and how much the repair is, and why it's taking so long.
Lee, are you able to address that?
Yes, they're old trucks. We had transmission go out on one, or the clutch go out on one. Then we had another problem with the impeller, so we got through the big rush of leaves, so we're about halfway through. They're picking them up with rear loaders now, so we're just trying to work on them as quickly as we can and get them back up.
Well, when did they go down? How long ago?
It's been about two weeks ago, I think so.
Well, my theory is it's about 40 days ago. And I don't know if I'm right or not, but it's been over a month, because it was way before Christmas. And what's the cost? What's the cost associated? Can they not budget some money, get them fixed and get them going on the road? It takes the transmissions one day. Impeller is a week.
Well, our city mechanic right now has got about 20 cars that are down, police cars. We're trying quick as we can to get it back going. And if you've got any problems with leaves, you need us to call. They've been out there longer than normal. We'll come by and pick them up when they're ready.
You didn't take it downtown to the transmission place and then
Direct your questions to us and we'll reach out.
Anyway, so you got my gist.
Yes, it's a point taken. We're trying to handle those repairs in-house, and that's probably where the backlog's coming from. So,
All right, those are two important vehicles. Thank you.
it's a very, very point well taken, yes. All right,
Can I just ask
Sherry,
for
yes.
back here?
please.
Sherry Cranford, 3315 La Vista Drive. Since there are so many little areas apparently where there's spot parking, is the lot, the lower half of Owens, Illinois, allowed to lease the bottom half to Peachy? Because since November, Peachy's been parking over there, and it's all blocked off.
And what lot are you speaking of?
The glass company on Sylvan Road across from Peachy. From
See,
where
that's outside of our city limits.
It has our zip code though.
Doesn't matter.
I understand we don't have jurisdiction over them parking there.
So
because they're
that's
outside
not
of our-
considered hateful?
Sylvan Road's the dividing line. Well, actually, the grass there where Owens, Illinois is the East Point
East
city
Point
limits.
side.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Joy, one more time.
I'm
I got
sorry.
other people
Hertz,
that hadn't asked.
Hertz has always used that area too. When they were over there, Hertz parked there.
Yeah, they did use it for spillover. Mr. Mack?
How you doing, Nick? This 90-day moratorium that you spoke of earlier that was based on the Supreme Court decision, was this specifically for churches or billboards, and is this 90-day moratorium going to be notified to churches?
It was for content of signs, period. I think the Supreme Court decision, even if I'm correct, had to do with the church sign. Is that correct?
Well, it's going to involve all types of signs. not
Right,
just-
because it's going to involve the content of signs. So it'll be part of our published when we enact the moratorium. It'll be part of the city record.
So that's for any church in the city?
Any sign, period, doesn't have anything to do with
Any
churches.
signs, not just specific to
Correct.
the church? Okay.
Not specific to churches. Okay, any more on my right? George?
Can I stay here?
Sure.
Okay, we brought this up before. The one-way streets never get the leaves cleaned up. I mean, because of the parking. And the theory being that if we clean up the street, maybe these people will tend to be more cleaner in the way they live. But that it's not happening. So, and I know this may require signs put up that you have to park on the other side of the street on certain days. You know what I'm saying? But
What street specifically are you speaking of?
well, look at Russell and Wheeler, and like Woodland Drive, my street, nobody rarely parks. There are many streets in town that people rarely park on. You know, we wouldn't have to worry about it. But there are a number of streets that are filthy and always dirty and look unkempt and never get cleaned up. And so this and also may require signs. So when you talk to the Kathy people, you might want to say that Granddaddy needs to have some signs up, but and tell them that they can design them, but as long and ask them to pay for it, the Granddaddy signs, so that we can pay for these other signs.
Thank you, George. All right, my left. Okay, Ricardo, I think you were first then. Then you, Travis.
Do I need a microphone or?
I think we can hear you okay.
All right, great. Yes, something just struck me tonight that I found very interesting in terms of what a couple of you stated, in terms of several years ago, things were really happening after you had facilitation services of some sort.
I just said there were more. My belief is a facilitated retreat nets you better results.
Okay, fine. And I'd like to go on that. One thing I also heard, basically in terms of Diane, when she was speaking of, and everyone else, the cost of a facilitator. And it's a cost of $700 is a suggestion because of flights in, feeding people, and everything else which is necessary to have a facilitator retreat. It's also the figure of like $2,400, perhaps more, and that might have been too much at some given time. I would suggest that maybe cheap is not the best thing to do on this whole thing here. If it really worked, if it really might work for you, you might consider something else, maybe some other alternatives. For instance, is it possible to garner some ideas from the public even before you go in terms of maybe how they see things should go, or would be better that you at least get some initial ideas. You can bring a facilitator in to help you begin to generate ideas, but perhaps you already have some ideas here that you may not have to pay for. These are just suggestions and everything, and observations. Is it possible, if you were to spend $2,400, could this be broken up in different sessions? Maybe biannually, maybe quarterly, in terms of someone would be able to come in and speak with you or to help to facilitate it. Rather than flying them in, do we have local talent? Local talent not just from Hapeville, but perhaps from the city of Atlanta and other surrounding areas that might do it cheaper. You may not have to pay for their housing or plane trips. You can use that money to facilitate, to have a facilitator to help you. So that's kind of like how I see it at the time being, and I just want to bring this out as a suggestion, because I really think that if you're saying where the city used to be, I'd like to see it that way also, and I think all of us really would. And obviously, people need help, and I think facilitation would be a great idea. It's just maybe you can break it down a little more, and don't go cheap, because you might be cheap. All right.
Travis?
Two things. First one's a good one. Alan good work in the State Postal Service. Father works there. And Amazon, that service will probably come in within the year, not this year 2016, but the year 2016, to the Atlanta, sort of inside the perimeter area, is Amazon Fresh. I know a lot of folks have always wondered about if they'll need the grocery store. Well, sort of the disruptive technology of logistics as they are, Amazon is able to provide services really quickly with stuff like Amazon Prime and Amazon Prime Now, based out of East Point. With Amazon Fresh, they would be using those same distribution facilities, but for what you would usually go to Walmart and Publix to get. The idea behind that, what I'm understanding, is that the Postal Service will use vehicles that the Postal Service owns and buys, but they're painted with a green Amazon Fresh sort of coating on the outside. Those will be delivered before 6 o'clock in the morning. Time for you to take it out of a frozen cold bag to the refrigerator, leave that out for your regular mail carrier to pick up from there, way around. So that was the first thing. So Amazon Fresh, or they're talking about being called Amazon Prime Fresh, so you have to subscribe to Prime where you can
Before you get fresh.
Right. Yeah, but
second thing, and I just noticed it since I was here for 2 years, but it's just a small little pet peeve that, like, all around Hapeville, like on the side of the roads, when we're talking about leaves, but I think it's also within the sort of 5-foot jurisdiction of the city, is like signs without signs on them. So like poles that are just like sort of jagged metal pieces of sort of sharded metal that are sticking up. Some other signs that have like, I think if you're crossing over the non-existent railroad track that used to go into the Henry Ford property, there's a, we check your speed, turn upside down. So I'm not sure if the police officers are there with a radar gun upside down or something, but if I like had a document by chance that had like all these little pieces of metal just sticking up around that's geotagged, like could somebody from city services just go by and chop all those down and
Certainly look into it. Thank you. Thank you. That railroad, those non-existent railroad tracks, technically by railroad guidelines, are still existent, so that's why the stop signs have to remain there.
Well,
No, but something else. Lee, is there any way we can sneak over to the ridge side of Atlanta over there by 75 and take down that sign that was put there by Atlanta 3 years ago about renaming the street? Just kind of accidentally make it disappear.
Hold on, Alice.
sort of with that, there's
I was going to turn it
about
off.
4 or 5 months ago in the meeting, but it's out of our jurisdiction to handle it as well. But the DOT still on the north and southbound side of both 75 and 85 still claim it as Henry Ford, the 2nd Avenue, as like a little small placard under the bridge.
Okay, we'll talk to the DOT about that. Thank you. All right, any more comments on my left, Trey?
Trey Bradbury, 921 Market Street. I have a couple of things. First of all, I really appreciate everyone who was involved, not only who all, from police to William to looking at the parking activity that's going on over there, still technology. And I know that I won't go into my whole dissertation about how I feel about turning the city into parking lots, but you know, it's just not good for us from financially. It's not good for us at all. So I really appreciate you guys staying on that. That's a big operation going on there. A lot of cars going in and out there. So I appreciate that. Second item I have is more from the Development Authority. I serve as the Development Authority. We received transfer from the city of the property located at the corner of Virginia and South Central that we lovingly call the old gas station, the old boarded up gas station on that corner. The Development Authority, we discussed getting an structural engineer to come out and look at that, and we approved that at our last meeting. So we got some prices, and we have someone to come out and just be sure the thing, how sound it is structurally. Inside of it, it looks okay. I don't see any cracks. I don't see it, but I'm not, an expert at that. And I would hate for us to have something that's not structural. Plus, we have someone interested in the building, so we need to know how structurally sound it is. So we have someone who has given us a price to do that. What I'm asking some assistance on with this is, do we have the ability from the city resources to provide ladders, ladder truck? I don't know for this person to get to the rock. He's a certified engineer, but he doesn't have like tall enough ladders to carry around and get up there, I guess. My question is, could we?
We've got
certainly have someone there present.
We've got the bucket truck. We've got the fire ladder trucks. I'm sure we could coordinate.
And
that.
how do I coordinate that? Who shall I talk to?
William.
Okay, William, you got it, William. Okay, and then I'll just touch base on something that David did bring up with this, our Dearborn Plaza property that's owned by the Development Authority in the alley. I would really suggest that we try to do something quickly with that. Alan serves on that Development Authority with me, and we've had this property under contract since October, and we're just getting this far with civilians ordinance, which is It's very important to this project. And so we can't really get much further as far as getting the survey completed and a plat and a site plan, and get him moving with architects and engineers until we sort that out.
Can we just make sure that, the only, two things, one I mentioned to David earlier, another that's come to mind. Number one, just to make sure there are no utilities there. I hope there's not. That would make things much easier. And second of all would be, is releasing that alleyway gonna limit in any way our ability to provide trash pickup or anything like that? So,
He'll have his own door.
Yeah, he's gonna have his own garbage, but fire truck access or anything like that.
We still need the ability to access the property and service it, so we'll just need to make sure that in the layout and the design, that if there is the need for an easement, that we reserve that right.
It is, yeah, if there are no utilities there, I don't think it's,
I don't
see it as
really
being.
understand the
question
access
would be whether or
thing
not there is
because
activities.
anytime someone buys a property and they put a structure on it, of course, we want to make sure that, our sewer lines aren't running under
Right.
each other and that kind
That's
of
the
thing.
key thing.
I
That's the
totally
key
get
thing.
that.
Yeah.
But the other thing, as far as access to it, this property has 3 roads around it, for one thing. And, we all have to have some access to our property, but we still put our house on it. But anyway, I'm not trying to be negative because I'm really excited about this project. And I know we can pull it together. I just wanted to reiterate how quickly we need to make that determination if we're not going to lose these guys. Because he's on a time frame to get out of his current building.
Right.
And we've already used up about almost 3 months of that, by the time we get to just dealing with the one ordinance. So, I don't know how we need to proceed on that.
Well, first thing is to identify whether or not we got any utilities there.
So can we do that like maybe this week, or, and I'm asking that because I don't know what's reasonable.
The part of the survey package is they were supposed to show utilities.
Okay.
But I don't want to, I think it never hurts to have 2 people look at it, and if Lee can get his guys who know everything.
I don't know what's
else
a
to make sure.
reasonable time frame on that.
This is the first I've heard of it, so we'll follow up.
Yeah, we just found out today.
Yeah, that's why I was drawing that in here, because we just found out.
Okay. Yeah, because I wasn't aware of any. I would have thought this would have come up when the developer thought he bought the property. And maybe it did, and it just didn't get acted upon.
And I don't know, I don't even remember how long that
It's
was
been a while.
before I came around, so I don't know. But, and, development's already bought that from, 4 different people, and
Yeah, it was
so one of the
fun.
things that we still have to do, that's part of the rush about getting all of this done, is that the development authority has to go to, file an application to the planning commission to consolidate this property, because it's in 4 parcels, and then subdivide it in order to sell the portion off, because, don't forget, the development authority is retaining probably, 2/3 of that
Two-thirds of the
property.
lot, right.
So,
Okay.
yeah, for future, development, so,
Okay.
anyway, thank you.
Keep us posted, staff.
Beyond the utility search, what is the next thing that we'd be concerned about? Because I agree with the access, there's going to be a parking lot, so I'm sure that we can access it. What else do we need to be pushing on?
Well, basically, once we get any kind of design ideas, then we need to figure out what kinds of challenges may or may not exist with regard to, the lot, the development of the lot. It's a common process for us to work through any kinds of issues once we get the design and things like surveys and easements and, where the utilities are and how will the water come into the building, which side will the garbage be serviced from, and all of those kinds of things. All those little details are dealt with upfront.
I think the main stumbling block would be if any utilities were there.
That would be the main one at this point.
And
That
yes, it's
process that you're referencing is something that certainly would happen once we can ever get to a point where the buyer can makes, and when it makes sense for him to start spending money on engineers and architects, and that's been a challenge up to this point.
It's been a chicken and egg issue, and we'll just have to work together to get through it.
He's got to decide, the alley would if you keep the alley through there, then that just makes it a different project. He might just build restaurants in front of the alley and do parking behind it, I don't know.
See, if
But
there,
it's a different plan.
if there aren't any utilities there, I don't see it being a problem.
Okay.
That's my own person, I'm
Well,
not.
that lets him go ahead and plan, assuming as long as there's no utilities.
Okay, I've already asked questions on the right, go ahead, ma'am.
It's in reference to this. I didn't have a question before,
Sure.
but can you tell us what the project is? I mean, some of us don't know.
It's two restaurants, a tavern and another restaurant, another concept on North Central Avenue.
Ma'am, may I have your name and address for the record? I'm sorry.
Claudia Phillips, 919 Custer Street.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mhm.
Okay.
And see David afterwards, he'll tell you more about it. Good one.
Julia, already asked questions on the right, sir.
The truck's still not fit.
My recollection is on the edge of that alley, there's a 10 to 15 or more foot drop off where that apartment complex is. I strongly think that we really should reconsider that, because that's a spot to put water on that fire that happens in that apartment building, or just the fact that the building is too close to the lot line. So leaving a small alley would be the best thing we
The
ever
alley
do.
would still be there beside the apartments. It's the alley that goes through the property at the top. is what we're talking about. There's still the alley going down beside the apartments. That doesn't affect that.
Well, you'd have to back in and back out, then. It needs to have an out.
Well, they're gonna have a parking lot where the restaurants are, so they can probably come in and come out that way.
They'll actually have more concrete to pull a truck in on than they have now.
All right.
Thank you. Okay, left, any other question with Laura?
Can I stay here?
Sure.
Where do you live?
201 Colorado, Laura Murphy. I have a few. Do we pay the 103,000 fee already, or do we wait to pay it as money comes in on the found money?
The fee?
Oh,
as it comes in.
As it comes in, okay.
Right.
And in 2005, Alderman Cranford and I and the other council members passed that all new hires would pay 30% of their health insurance. What happened to that? Did you guys?
I don't recall that.
We did.
I was on council at the time.
Yes. 2005, we went through this whole thing about how we had to survive the money crunch and all the things, and all new hires at that point were supposed to pay 30%. Wasn't supposed to affect the other ones, so could you possibly put on old business the next time and find out?
We'll follow.
Research 2005?
We'll follow up and see.
Because it's been 10 years.
Yeah.
10 years it should have been. That was something that I thought was rather strange, because I know we passed that. The parking lot is in the UV zone, correct, that these people are using for parking? So we're citing them every day because they don't have a conditional use permit, but we're ignoring the citations? We're allowing them to continue?
We're citing them for every day that they're open. They haven't applied, they've just now applied for their.
There's a dual process happening. We are citing them every day that they are not in compliance, and we are scheduling as fast as we can council to consider their application to do this activity, which they started without filing.
Okay, so there's no cease and desist, there's no stop?
I guess I could go to the judge and make them, but I don't know.
Did we not have a moratorium?
I don't know if we could get to it as quickly as we are on the pathway to resolve it now.
I mean, I'm just a little confused. I know we got a moratorium on parking.
No, on parking.
Parking lots.
Paving on parking,
Yeah, that
not
was.
on parking.
Right,
just
that was
on
paving.
Well, they still
paving
have to
parking
go,
lots.
they still have to go through the UV conditional use thing, so they're operating illegally. Okay.
And they're being cited for that.
Okay, do you know how much that is a day?
I have
$1,000.
$1,000 a day, so you may or may not charge them that $1,000 depending on.
That's a judicial matter.
Okay. Okay, and are we adopted the International Maintenance, Property Maintenance Code? We've adopted
They
that.
have adopted that.
So I was listening to Michael and you discuss some of these issues on windows and things, and as I was going through the code, I found that we're not following the international code on some of our buildings that we have. So in reference to that, you've got, after 3 months of a building or business being closed, if it is not being able to be occupied, for instance, I can give an example of the old African kitchen. Even though it says closing a vacant structure, if the structure is vacant and unfit for human habitation and occupancy, and is not in danger of structural collapse, the code officials is authorized to post a place card of condemnation on the premises. So what we're saying, that building cannot be leased out immediately because it has 28-inch doors on the bathrooms, so it's not up to code.
Laura, you're specifically going into one building. Can you provide us with addresses specifically that you're
Well, there's
concerned
tons
about?
all over town.
Well, what's the question? Just provide us more information. You're talking about buildings, and we don't have access to that information right here tonight, so it's going to be very difficult
Right,
for
the
us to
international
address these
code, we
concerns.
have tons of vacant buildings that have been vacant for years. This code states what needs to be done with them. It's in the code, and I'd be glad to forward it to you, that what our departments are supposed to be doing after a certain amount of time. They're supposed to tell these people, then they have to board them up with a date certain on whether they're going to renovate them or tear them down. That's in the international code. I just want to make sure that we get adopted that.
We're familiar with the code. If you will provide a list of addresses you think are a violation of the code, we'll be happy to follow up.
I'll be glad to do that. And then, of course, the windows, the night lights in businesses where...
92 years old. She had a couple of skin tears and a good deal of blood. And we tried to take care of it with a little first aid kit, and that certainly wasn't sufficient.
You
So
said
I
this
called
was going to
the
be a...
EMS.
Okay, does it feel good? Oh, you're getting
I want to get to the good part. I called EMS, and they arrived, and I just want to say a very, very big shout out to Casey Hart. He treated this lady not only psychologically, which I don't think he intended to do, but he did, and physically. And she left feeling very good about the whole experience. She was a little bit embarrassed, but she did feel very good about it. And I just wanted you to know, Tony, I was proud of our paramedics last week. The other item is, when I came here tonight, I came directly from Hapeville Elementary School. And they are kicking off a program beginning in early February that is called Power Lunch. It's designed to get community involvement in volunteering in the schools, especially designed for busy professionals with a commitment to the school. And it works like this. On Tuesdays, you make a commitment to go to the school and take 20 minutes at lunchtime to read to a first, second, or third grader. Your commitment is for the rest of the year. You are scheduled there every Tuesday. They're working with a group that's called Everybody Wins Atlanta. And this group is coordinating all of the activities and just managing that volunteer program. If it works, then it will expand to K through 6 the following year. We'll be getting some information out to everyone in the community about this program, but I wanted you to be on the lookout for it and would encourage you to participate in this program. It's been very effective in other locations, and we're looking forward to it being successful here. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any other comments on the left? Okay, Council?
I just had one quick one. On the considered designation or redesignation of North Central Avenue as a Druid County Memorial Highway, I would just suggest that if it passes muster, that perhaps we also include Jeanette, Druid and Jeanette County Memorial Highway.
That's kind of one of the things I want to talk to the family about, see what their wishes were. Because I think it would be paramount for them, especially with the recent passing of her.
Right, exactly. Thank you.
Okay. All right, council comments, Diane?
Thank y'all for coming out.
Appreciate all of your comments, appreciate all of your interest and the time that you spend in our fair city, trying to keep us on the straight and narrow, offering suggestions, and because it's our town, and I want you to know I always remember that, so keep them coming, and thank you for that.
Thank you. Great.
Okay, on the Truett Kathy thing, one thing I'd like to say, and I have mentioned it to Dan Kathy and everybody at the north that listened, I think they need to get a statue of her and put out there next to him, because it's wrong him being out there all by himself. So I want anybody, when you ever go to work, you tell Russ or whoever's there that you'd like to have one of her also. And I want to mirror Charlotte's comment about the fire department. Over the last 10 years or so, I have used them a tremendous amount with my parents, and never once did they act like they bothered them or anything. Call them 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and they're there, and they're pleasant, and that's why we live here, is because we have such great services.
Amen.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've done an end-of-meeting comments since August. I could do without 2015 for a lot of it. It was kind of a rough year. But I appreciate your patience with me. I've questioned whether I deserve a paycheck because I don't feel like I can contribute like I want to. But I'm getting healthier. And even last month, I almost didn't come to the meeting because it was too painful to sit here physically. But anyway, so maybe I said more than I usually do tonight because I actually feel like talking again, so that's an improvement. And I appreciate your thoughts and prayers. I think many of you know what I've been through. It doesn't matter if you don't, we all have stuff. You know a bit about pain, don't you?
Just a little.
Okay. Anyway, I, having grown up here, I've lived in Hapeville my whole life, from Russell Street to Atlanta Avenue, and then to Old Jonesboro Road. It's fascinating to watch things develop, but it's amazing to see the things that are coming that I would have never anticipated. I mean, I remember going to Forest 5 and 10. If you grew up here, you knew where all those things were. But I never thought there'd be an international hotel, next to a Porsche. Porsche's outside of Hapeville, but most people don't know that. We're not telling them. We cut grass out there, so we ought to be able to claim it. I wish we didn't cut the grass personally, but we don't want it to be ugly. It's another subject. But there are a lot of exciting things on the horizon that I think can allow us to build a reserve and to compensate our employees and to do a lot of great projects. But it's going to take good stewardship and sharp thinking and a lot of working together. I think we're just way too small to be divided. We need to work together. It doesn't mean we all see things the same way. I know last month when we put, I'm sorry, I don't say all the protocol stuff, but to me it's Alan and Ruth, because I grew up with them. When they were installed and we were thanking people for everything, I'll be honest with you, I was also thankful for Laura Murphy. And the reason I say that is because I saw some elections in Hapeville over the last 20 years where people ran unopposed. I never think that's healthy. I think that opposition is important to bring up issues and to bring up ideas. And if you're only listening to your friends for guidance, I think you're making a big mistake, because your enemies are going to be a lot more honest with you sometimes. And we need it all. And so I'm thankful, even though the election was difficult in a lot of ways maybe, or got touchy, I still think the result is that people are involved and issues were brought up that need attention. When I won this post 2 years ago and I ran against Scott and Peggy, I made the point, I only had 45% of the vote. Well, that was enough because there was 3 people. I was well aware I didn't have the majority. So I feel like I have to earn that. Not that 100% of them don't like me. I'm pretty clear that ain't going to happen. But I didn't take for granted that I needed to work in such a way to earn that. So that's all I have to say.
know what to say to that, I don't really have anything else to add to that, other than we have the Mayor's Day Conference this weekend downtown. Hope all of you have availed yourself to the opportunities there. If not, I will be down there representing Hapeville. And thanks to everyone for coming out. And which we wanted to just postpone all this till the weather warms up. But we got business to do. I agree with Michael, and we'll keep working together. We all have the same end game, I think. Maybe some different ideas about how we get there, but working together and putting differences aside and embracing our similarities, we can accomplish great things. So God bless you all for coming out. Thank you very much, and have a great night. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. All in favor, raise your right hand.
I need to do
All
Yeah, things going well, other than, stuff, back and everything like that. That's the way it is now. That's the way it is now, That's right. Most of my friends and people that I know who are, somewhere in their 50s. Somewhere in their 50s, who are really going through it. Well, like I say, from one of my buddies that as long as I can feel the pain, that means I'm in the game.
You can bend over. I'm glad, because I will miss you.
Oh, yeah, I know.
I do.
All right. Look forward to it.